I'm gonna test what it's like to film and talk while eating, and then put it on YouTube, see what people think, and to see if I even like doing this. I have never filmed myself talking before, and it's really hard to feel like I'm being my real self and not trying to just be like a YouTube personality or be who I think people want me to be versus being just like saying what's on my mind. But I know like on Twitch, people do mukbang and they will just like eat and chat, and I think maybe that's cool. I don't know if that's for me, but I wanted to try it anyway. I'm making or I made ramen, well shin ramyun, and then I put jalapeno, mushroom, a can of tuna, and a big handful of spinach. That's what I'm eating right now. But I was thinking while I was eating, while I was listening to a podcast by Lex Friedman, and they were talking about AI and just some other things. They were talking about some like neuroscience and like how there's parts of the brain that are inhibitory in terms of sensory perception. So like when you see things with your eyes, hear things with your ears, there's all these sounds, but when you're effectually like trying to like get through your day, you can't be paying attention to every single thing. Like you can't be stuck on the texture of the walls when you're trying to like get from point A to point B in a building. Which is interesting because like your eyes are just a piece of hardware and you're just kind of receiving all the information from the eye. The eye itself can't like turn on and turn off what it sees. It's just kind of pointed at stuff and it's just gonna take it all in. But your mind is the one that like focuses on specific details that the eye is taking in. Like the software is the one that determines what you're gonna see, even though like the eye is objectively seeing everything. I didn't really listen to the whole podcast, so I don't know what the whole point of it was. But it got me thinking about a book that I read a while back. I guess like an essay by Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World, but he also wrote this essay, or I guess collection of essays, called The Doors of Perception. And he was talking about psychedelic drugs. This was back in like the 60s or 70s. And he was talking about how when he was using, I think, mescaline, he was writing about like his experience and like what that actually feels like, which is cool because I think a lot of people's like entry level psychedelic like understanding is like you take a drug and it just makes you see stuff, but like otherwise your like mind is like completely normal. You're just like seeing things that aren't there. But he said that the mind is always, well, it's always there, and then your hardware, like your ears and your eyes, are always taking in all this information, but the mind is inhibiting how much of the information makes it in, because it's like if you were to walk outside and see a tree and see every single leaf on the tree individually with like equal importance, and not just turn that all into like an image in your mind that's just like tree, and then you can just move on, you would go like crazy. So your mind, by default, like the sober mind, it closes the doors of perception. But psychedelic drugs open those doors, or at least like unlock them so that you can open them yourself. Or I guess like maybe with more dose, like a higher dose, like more doors are opened, which is really cool because it's kind of like psychedelic drugs aren't making you see anything that's not there. It's making you see what was there the entire time instead of seeing something that just didn't exist in the first place. But what that made me think about after that is about like in Buddhism, there's a term like relative reality, or yeah, I guess relative, and then like absolute reality. And the difference is like when you see, like for the example of the tree, when you see it, the relative reality is like that's a tree. Like it just is what it is, and you just move on. It's like, okay, I've determined and simplified this down to a concept. Like all trees are trees. And it's just, you know, you see a big tree, small tree, oak tree, whatever, it's all tree. And you can just accept that and then keep moving on with your life without having to think too much about it, because you've simplified this thing down into just one single word concept. But the absolute reality of the tree is that, like, it's a little bit different than all of the trees. Every tree is different. Like, it has more branches, more leaves, different arrangement of branches or leaves, or it has specific things about it. Like, the rings in the trees could be different depending on where it's at. Like, there's no two trees that are completely identical. And all of those details are a part of the tree. It is part of reality. And that would be absolute reality. It was like everything is infinitely complex, just like the universe is like infinitely expansive. But you don't wake up every day and think about like from here to Pluto. You just think about like from your bed to your bathroom to your office and so on. So it's you know, in our best interest, and probably to keep us from going crazy, we got to kind of simplify things and like break them down. But in reality, with like a big capital R, everything is super complex. Everything is completely unique. The universe is completely open and expansive and infinite in everything. What exists, how big it is, how long it's been going on. And we are maybe not cognizant of it, but we're able to just see it. You can see maybe like the layers in a rock. If you like see a cliff face and you're like, okay, those are all the layers of the rock. And you're like, oh, cool, like sedimentary rock. You just like say that in your head. You're like, I remember that from science. Like sedimentary rock, like those are the layers that are built up. But you're not fully experiencing the fact that that's like deep time. Like that's millions of years that have gone by that's built up those layers. Or when you look at like a pair of blue jeans, you're just like blue jeans, and you see the logo and you're like Levi's, and it's like, okay, cool. Maybe you get to the finer details and you're like, those are 30 waist, 30 inseam or whatever. But what you're not paying attention to is like the individual threads of the pants, you know what I mean? So I think it's pretty interesting that psychedelic drugs open that up, because I remember a time in college when I took LSD, like the only time I did, but I did remember the blue jeans, looking at how all the white fibers go one way and all the blue fibers go one way, and then they lace into each other to make denim. It was the first time I had ever really seen that. Like, I knew denim, I was like blue. And you can get it different colors, of course, but I never thought about the complexity of it. And I think that goes for everything. But it's just really interesting to think about how it's always there the entire time. And we subconsciously choose to not see it. Because if you were to see all of those details all the time, you could never get anything done. It'd be too complicated. But we simplify everything down with our brains, not with our eyes. The eyes are always just doing what they do. You have your eyes open. You can see stuff when you point them at stuff. But the brain is the one that filters all that information out, figures out what's important, and then like proceeds from there to give you the idea of what's going on in front of you. Which is cool. And I'm glad that it happens. But it's funny that we spend so much time trying to figure out how to like reverse that, or stop ourselves from doing what we are supposed to be doing the entire time anyway. People take drugs and they do maybe religious practices like meditation, or I don't know, maybe like Buddhism is like a religion, but meditation isn't necessarily religious. But people are always trying to like open their mind and like see everything. And we already can, but we're stopping ourselves from doing it. So we're kind of like psyching ourselves out. But that's just what I was thinking about. I was thinking about doing these videos, or I wanted to try making videos. I wanted to try making videos. I like to write, and I was writing. I haven't been, but I like it. I just don't feel like anybody reads. So I was sending essays to my friends, and they like what I write, and I like to write too. But I just don't think that there's a potential there. I don't think that a bunch of people are gonna start reading my stuff, and it's gonna get really popular. I'm not saying that I'm trying to make videos just so that they are popular, but it'd be cool if they were. I mean, if I could make videos that people actually watched, and by people I mean strangers, and they liked what I wrote, or said, I would keep doing it because I like the idea of having a place to talk about the ideas that I have or the opinions that I have, because I feel like I have a lot to say. I just never know who to say it to. I feel like it's not that appropriate maybe to have conversations like these with people and just talk at someone for forever about what I think about life, because a lot of people don't want to hear it. I know my girlfriend, she's pretty cool with me rambling about stuff like this, and she's usually on board with whatever I'm talking about. But I feel like if I were to talk about politics, people generally aren't open to hear about what they have already deemed that they understand. Really, I feel like most people don't even want to listen to anything political at all. Because if you have to listen to it in real life, you can't curate what you get. But when you're on the internet, you can pick what you want, and you can just turn it off if you're not interested. Or the internet's really going to give you what you want to hear in the first place. So to be out in real life and have somebody talk to you about something that you're not interested in, or maybe you don't necessarily agree with, but not have the option to just be next, fuck that, I don't want it, then people get pissed off. But I feel like a lot of what I like to talk about are those issues. I like to talk about maybe not necessarily politics, just the Democrats, the Republicans, Donald Trump. I don't like to get into the nitty gritty, but I do like the philosophy of politics or government and what that means and what we want it to be and how it should function and stuff. So systematically, I think it's pretty cool. I'd like to talk about that with people, or to at least explain what I think or how I feel about certain issues that come up. But I feel like most people are not open for that. There's not a whole lot of opportunity to discuss that in a way that's intelligent or nuanced. Most people just want to have a conversation about who did you vote for, who should you vote for, what's going to happen if everybody votes for candidate A or candidate B. And I think the same goes for everything else. People don't really want to talk about religion, but I think it's a pretty good topic. I think there's a lot to be said there. Most people's conversations with stuff like religion is what's the best religion, or which religion is right, or what religion are you, when did you become that religion, are you still that religion, or whatever. But I like the idea of just talking about religion as a function of somebody's life, and what that does for them, and how all religions are kind of they fill that same gap, I think. So just talking about it as a general instead of each specific, and how it affects you personally is kind of a cool topic of conversation. But I feel too many people are not willing to get separated from that, separate themselves from that conversation, and as opposed to putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, taking the shoes off entirely, and just talk about it from a totally objective standpoint. If you were an alien looking at humans, what would you think about religion and how it functions in a human life? Not yours, not somebody else's, not a specific religion, but just how religion is a thing, or how politics are a thing, or anything like that. All of that is interesting to me. I would like to talk about those things. I don't know if these videos will continue or if I'm even going to put this on YouTube. I was really just trying to see if it's weird to me that I'm home alone and just talking to a camera. I think maybe moving forward, I would take requests from people about what we should talk about. I say we, I'm talking to myself. But I would take requests, or maybe I would think of things, and maybe I should come with more of like an agenda or like talking points. Because I just turned my camera on. I just wanted to see what it felt like. The soup is good, but the thing about canned tuna is that it breaks down and it just turns into like crumbs. So I'll probably get a lot of canned tuna at the very end with my spoon, but right now it's not really coming through. And of course, Shin Ramyun is like so much better than top ramen. I used to eat top ramen all the time, and in college I ate it. I mean, everybody did, but I ate it like a lot. I liked they don't have it up here. I haven't seen it at least. But down in Austin at HEB, they had the Chile Limon Shrimp top ramen. That shit is good. It's like spicy Cheetos, or it's like Takis the soup. I used to make it every Wednesday before class. And I would put 4 eggs in it and eat all of it right before I left for class. It was good. I haven't seen that flavor, and the other flavors just don't hit the same. But Shin is really good. It's a little more expensive, but I mean, when you're talking like 12 cents versus 50 cents, it's like whatever. Sometimes I add enough vegetables in the beginning, or what I'll do is I'll start with no water in the pot, turn it on like medium, put oil in the pan or pot, and then garlic, onion, spices, maybe like curry powder, salt and pepper, just stuff like that. And then add in a bunch of vegetables. I like bell pepper, mushroom, carrot, celery, spinach, whatever. And start to add all that in. And then after it's all starting to get kind of like cooked down a little bit, then add the water in and then put it on low and just let that sit. At that point in time, sometimes it kind of seems like I don't even need the soup packet. And if I don't need the soup packet, then the only reason I'm opening the whole thing up is for the noodles. But I could just buy the noodles. Or I could use rice. That'd be good. I think ramen, if you're eating ramen with nothing in it, you're fucking up. You gotta at least put eggs. And if you don't put eggs, then like today, can of tuna is good. Any kind of leftovers is good. Big bag of spinach, you can put like at least a third. It cooks down so easily. But you knew that. Or at least I hope you guys know that. I could always do videos about cooking. I don't know if I have the right equipment because I don't even have a tripod. I have this propped up on like a jar. But if I had more equipment, or maybe if I got like somebody to help me, I could do videos about cooking, and you could follow me into the kitchen and I could cook some shit and we could talk about it. I could do videos about any of my hobbies. If you're a stranger on the internet and you don't know me and you've made it 18 minutes into this video, I like foreign languages. I studied Spanish in high school. Don't really speak that well. I studied Arabic in college. I forgot most of it. But I really like linguistics in general. I have lots of things to say about that. I am an amateur mixed martial artist. I could talk about Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We could talk about martial arts in general. I like cooking. I like to ferment stuff. I used to ferment kombucha and then mead, which is like wine but made out of honey instead of grapes. I don't drink anymore though, so I haven't really fermented anything. Well, I made some vinegar not that long ago, like raw vinegar, which was pretty good. But I could talk about that. Or we could do videos where I show you how to make that and why, or whatever. So I'm gonna just finish this soup real quick, but I'm gonna put this on YouTube, I guess, see what people think, or see if anybody actually makes it all the way through, and then we'll see from there, I guess. So thank you very much for hanging out with me today. And I hope to see you again. Maybe. If I plan on doing this again. Don't know. Peace.